Wow. Rarely in elections is there such a beating as happened in Flagstaff last night.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I really am.
I'm not surprised. I thought the hospital issue was going to go down. I said that on the show, and I've been saying for weeks it was a very poorly run, out of touch campaign from Northern Arizona Healthcare, and it was a very bad decision by the Flagstaff City Council that goes to show they're really out of touch with the people they're supposed to represent.
Yeah.
What a beating here. I mean, this is bad
in general, because a lot of times these elections with the propositions, however I vote is the wrong way. Like, it never turns out the way that I vote.
Yeah.
It never does. It just, I vote what I vote, and then it's always the opposite, like, every time.
It's like you question, what am I doing?
And this time was like more often than not, I actually was on the right side of the vote.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that.
What I want to do is go over the vote in Flagstaff on the hospital and a bunch of propositions. We'll only cover a few that I think are really high points. And the voters of Flagstaff, like Angela said, got it right for the most part, I think, for once. The voters of Prescott voted on a bunch of propositions as well. There's a couple of those I'd like to highlight. And then I'd like to get into some of the national stuff, the 15-week ban on abortion that didn't go through in Ohio, the Democrat governors that hung on to switching of the House in Virginia as far as the legislature. And does this mean anything for the 2024 election? Yesterday we talked about it. I was talking with Bruce. Is this a bellwether? This is a sign of what's going to happen? I don't think so. I think these are very localized issues, and I don't think you can draw too much. Maybe not. Other than people sure seem to want to keep abortion going. I mean,
I know,
unless they were just poorly run campaigns, but even in what's supposed to be pretty deep red Ohio, it just didn't fly. And then I think Ohio also did the medical marijuana, one of those states. I've got a whole list here. So it's like half the states in the country now have, not medical, I'm sorry, recreational. I'm living way back 10 years ago, right? Recreational weed. I don't know. Maybe that's what's going on in Congress. They're all smoking dope. I don't know. All right. Let's get to all that, plus a bunch of news picks that we'll pull off the pile here. And if you got a comment, always love hearing from you. Talk with Jeff at iCloud.com. That's talkwithjeff at iCloud.com. Real quick, Kelly Broaddus turns challenging situations into 5-star solutions time and time again. She's able to sell homes like no one else out there and get people top dollar in what's oftentimes a challenging market. She did that recently for Anthony and Connie. They were building their dream home. They decided to let's do it, right? And while they're waiting for the completion, they purchased a home in Pine Canyon. Good for them. And once their new home was ready, Kelly was able to sell the Pine Canyon property in just 6 days, and full asking price. She's done this time and time again. No stress, no hassle. That's because Kelly's got a great team around her, and Kelly's got a ton of experience selling homes in the Flagstaff area. Call the only agent that I would call if I was selling a home right now in the Flagstaff area and had the election gone a certain way last night. I'd be like, it's hopeless. I'm selling my home. I'd be calling Kelly, but there's hope once again. Anyway, 888-446-5602. Kelly Broaddus with the Broaddus Properties Group, brokered by EXP, 888-446-5602. Or go find the value of your home right now by going to northernarizonafinehomes.com. That's northernarizonafinehomes.com. No, but Angela and I were talking last night, and we spend, although I probably spend a little bit more time than you do, in Yavapai County, in Camp Verde specifically. And I was like, you know what, if this one goes haywire, it's just like, I'll just spend one more day down there, and then it'll tip it to like residency, and I'll register down there so I can feel like my vote matters once in a while.
I know, right?
So I haven't had to do that yet. I can't say that I won't do that at some point.
Yeah.
And honestly, if the residency does switch and you're in one place more than the other, that's what you
should probably.
You should. Yeah. No, you should. Yeah, absolutely. So let me just refresh this here. Let's start local in Flagstaff, then we'll hit Prescott. And then I got some statewide things, and then we'll broaden out to national as far as last night's election. The hospital bought a bunch of property south of Flagstaff by the Fort Tuthill area. It's a heavily treed area. It's a area that's zoned residential. Rural residential. So there's supposed to be, according to the zoning, houses on pretty large lots, right? And everybody got confused over what this issue was all about. It was about, do we need a hospital? Do we don't need a hospital? Do we have enough staff? Do they not? Do they provide this or that? Right? It became everybody's a hospital administrator.
It was like, do we want the hospital, new hospital or not? And And
I said weeks ago, I said, look, stop looking at it that way. And you ran into a lot of people that were saying, hey, Jeff finally broke this down in a way that I can do my vote now, which is, do you want houses there or do you want commercial?
Right.
Do you want to rezone it from houses to commercial?
Yeah, that was the bottom line.
That's the issue.
Do we want to change this from residential area with homes on large lots, or do we want a commercial development?
Exactly. Look at it blind. Look at it blindly, and that's the issue. No matter what they were putting there, that was the issue. Just omit that it was the hospital, and add that the city council, in their benevolent wisdom, granted the hospital, the owner of the property out there in the zoning change, a waiver on Flagstaff's height restriction. They granted them, I think it was 80 feet, and they allowed them to go 160 feet. So basically the tallest building in Flagstaff right now, I think it's the NAU dorms at 9 stories. But then
one of them is 9, but I'm not sure about Purina.
Okay, Purina. Yeah. I mean, we don't have many buildings over 6 stories, right?
Right.
Definitely not over 8 stories. This building, by residential standards and standards that are in Flagstaff, was going to be twice as high, not 8 stories, but 16 stories. They called it, 7 or something.
Well, they say it's 7 floors.
But that's not normal.
Okay, inside there was supposed to be 7 floors, but to any lay person out there, it's 16 stories tall.
Twice as high as anything in Flagstaff, essentially. And not even in the dense downtown area. Coming in, and Bruce Sidlinger mentioned this yesterday, coming into Flagstaff on I-17 on a raised up area right by the airport, they naively thought that the residents of Flagstaff, who has been very opposed to tall buildings in the past, were going to vote for this thing. It got walloped. I've never seen an election where something got beat this bad. What was the final number? 70? I think there's still some ballots to be counted, but 72% of Flagstaff voters voted against this thing.
Yeah, so just over 72%, 8,554.
So basically 3/4 of Flagstaff said, we don't want this thing, which tells me something that actually is interesting in the state of affairs of politics in our country nowadays. Republicans and Democrats seem to hate each other. Conservatives, liberals, just at each other's throat all the time. In a bipartisan fashion, liberals, conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, and there's, what do you think the political makeup is in Flagstaff? Maybe a third more conservative to 2/3 liberal.
Something like that. Yeah.
And when we're talking liberal, we're talking all the way to like the communist side of the leftist aisle, right? And there's a lot of squishy rhino type Republicans. I'm sure it's a very liberal city, but they came together and said, oh no, this thing's a dog. This is a dog, and rejected this thing. And they should have. And for those who say, it's a private property rights issue, it's not, because they don't have the zoning. They didn't have that zoning there. And what made this matter worse for me is the city council, the Flagstaff City Council, like I said, just a couple years ago, they voted people's height down from 60 feet to 45 feet. So basically from a 6-story building to a 4-story building, if you're lucky,
you can't get
maybe
5
3.
into 45.
Yeah. And they took away everyone's property right, and there's lawsuits and everything because of Prop 207. There's a constitutional amendment in the state that says government can't lower the value of your property. Well, they can. You just got to go fight them legally, and then you got 3 years to do that, right? So they had the nerve to take away height of people's existing property, people that already have things, have the property, have the development, have the zoning right. It's already vested to them. Right. They had the nerve to do that. These I can't use the word again, slimy politicians and bureaucrats, and give it to this group just because they were at a hospital. No. And look, when someone like me, who is a pro-development guy, pro-building guy, I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
When somebody like me is calling BS on this, oh man, they shouldn't have even spent the money on the 50 100,000 text messages they sent out every 3 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
The hospital group. And here's the sad thing about this. Northern Arizona Healthcare, I said many weeks ago, I said this was one of the most poorly run campaigns I've ever seen. It was ridiculous.
I knew that the first mailer we got, I thought,
horrible.
This is a terrible mailer, this picture on here, and whatever they were saying, that maternity and the NICU and all this like bleeding heart strategy.
Yep.
That was not going to work for me. And the more and more mailers they sent and the more and more texts they sent, I thought, man, they're just trying to buy my vote at this point, and I'm not taking it.
It's worse than that. And this is where you get into a point where the hospital staff and administrator looks at the managers that ran this and say, you know, like in military terms, we're sending you to the outpost way up in Alaska to monitor, you know, salmon or something. Mm-hmm. Like, please don't do anything for us again, because it was performed so horribly.
Was the original plan was just no good, because it's clear now that the people of Flagstaff don't like this plan they had of the major this monster development, 160 feet tall, and you know, the medical village and the housing they're going to put in and the commercial stuff, it's clear now that that's not what this community wants. So whoever came up with the original plan to even do that just didn't get enough input from, well, what does the city look like now? What would fit in right? How are we going to win over the people? I mean, at that point they didn't need the vote, I guess, but they still needed the rezone, so they needed to convince
they needed to convince
someone.
council, first of all. Right. And then once they referred us to the ballot, they needed to convince the people of Flagstaff. You're basically making another downtown south of Flagstaff. I mean, you're making a huge area with a bunch of big buildings.
200 and
people don't want that. Yeah, 80 initially and then up to 200. And here's another thing with this. The city council and a lot of these people, a couple of them were there or have been around since the student housing 6-story controversy. This is back a ways, folks. They were opposed, leading protests basically and all that. They were all into that, several of the members. And then they do this. I mean, so it goes to show you how out of touch the council is. But 6 of them supported this thing. Only one, who I disagree with almost everything this guy says, came out on the right side of this and said, yeah, this isn't right for the community. But Northern Arizona Healthcare, they just totally missed the mark on this. Here's the sad thing about this. The way they ran this campaign, and I said this weeks ago right after I interviewed one of the guys from the hospital, I've never seen somebody spend their company's money to rip their own company and then lose by 70+%. They literally spent their own money, their company money, basically painting such a bleak picture of what the conditions are at the hospital. And I've been saying for weeks, I said, well, what if you lose? Everybody's gonna be like, well, I remember all those commercials.
Go there to get treatment.
This sounds really bad. And it's like, this was the dumbest, I can't say it enough. This was the dumbest run campaign. This should go in a textbook of whoever ran this campaign should be in a picture there saying, hi, here's how you run the worst campaign I've ever seen on a local issue.
Right.
It's horrible. Just horrible.
Well, and props to the people who brought this to the voters, though, too, because clearly it was the right thing to do, is to get the signatures, get it on the ballot.
Yeah, they didn't,
bring it up, or else this thing would be getting built. You know, they'd be breaking ground here.
Yeah, and NHA and Northern Arizona Healthcare came out and said NAH last night cannot build a new hospital there without the zoning change, and NAH also cannot continue to renovate Flagstaff Medical Center, they said in a statement. It is imperative that we expand, as FMC already is out of space for adult patients many days, which leads to long wait times in the emergency department and local patients transported to Phoenix hospitals, the statement said. Go back to the drawing board. Probably don't try to build a high-rise twice as high as anything else in Flagstaff. That doesn't work in Flagstaff. You're not going to get that through unless you find, it's not going to get through because no place, even if you found the available acreage to do this in the city of Flagstaff, there's height restrictions. It may be as high as 80 feet. And if you want to try anything else, you're going to have to go for the rezone. I would recommend finding enough property where it has like the 80 feet or the 60 feet, whatever it's zoned, and building it within those conditions. Because if you go for a rezone again, you're going to get smacked down again, and just do this a little smarter, and probably find somebody else to run your campaign on this one.
And next time a zoning change comes to the city council, maybe they shouldn't be given waivers of doubling, the height restriction.
No, they should never,
that sort of thing.
Again, out of touch city council. Yeah. Let's get to some of the national ones. Let's get to some statewide issues. Prescott as well. I'll hit on all of that. Hey, I love having Glenn Least here on the program to talk about and give market updates, what's going on in the financial markets. We talk about stock market, bonds, the lending, the banking side, interest rates, real estate, even gold, silver. I mean, we hit it all, and I appreciate Glenn Least. He's plain spoken. He's easy for me to talk to. Look, I don't tell you how to invest. I always tell you to seek out your own financial planner or other counsel before making any investment decisions. I can tell you what I do and what my family does, and we have invested with Glenn Least over at WT Wealth Management. This isn't an endorsement of any in particular portfolio, but I find the woke mitigation portfolio interesting. And put a little bit in that to see what makes me smile. Funny. Yeah, that's worth it for different for us personally. We're like, hey, let's see how this develops. Yeah. Anyway, Glenn Least, why don't you give him a call and let him review your portfolio. Talk to him, see if he's a good fit. I think he shares a lot of values that I have, that my family has. Here's his number, Glenn Least, 928-225-2474. That's Glenn Least at WT Wealth Management at 928-225-2474, 928-225-2474. Back in a minute. All right, welcome back. Comments always welcome. Talk with Jeff at iCloud.com as we kind of review some of the election results from last night. I don't know, any of you think that this is a bellwether when you look at, let's look at Virginia, for example. So Virginia flipped the House last election cycle from Democrat to Republican. This election cycle is now flipped back from Democrat to, Republican to Democrat. The Senate was Democrat controlled. It retained Democrat leadership. So now you've got the entire legislature in Virginia, because this was one of the big wins 2 years ago was, finally Virginia, because Virginia, by and large, it's like a lot of states, you've got a lot of areas that are ultra conservative, right?
Yeah, really rural.
Then you get up towards DC.
Yeah, not too much.
And it's just what's happened in so many communities, which is, well, you got the DC swamp, but anytime you've got the big city, I don't know what it is in the human psyche, but big cities just turn to Democrat, and turn leftist.
It happens every time.
Everywhere.
It's so predictable, and I can't. I don't know how you can stop that.
It's like we live tighter together, so we want more government control, even though crime is way up, and we've got all these different problems. But let's just keep voting in the Democrats.
Same story over and over.
It attracts maybe it just attracts a certain mindset that's like,
could be the people.
I want to live in a dense area, and I want government to club me down every time I, to try to have any kind of personal freedom. Or maybe it's the fact that there's so many people living so close together that you have to have so many rules, or the perception of having so many rules to keep everybody in order, or they'll all be killing each other. But maybe that's happening anyway. Maybe it's that. I don't know what it is, but it's happening in Maricopa County.
Well,
it's happening in Phoenix.
Going fast too.
It's going
fast, like dominoes out there. On these big cities.
I listen to Glenn Beck when I can, and he's in Texas, and he talks about the Dallas and all these big cities that are turning Austin is lost a long time ago. They attracted a lot of people from California. Tons of Californians, more kind of middle mushy moderate Californians got out of there, but they brought California Republicanism to places like Austin and now Dallas and Houston,
Phoenix,
you name it. And now that's happened in Phoenix with, the Phoenix metro area with 5.5 million people, and Arizona with 7.5 million people. It's like the same story happens over and over again. The rural red states with, very conservative rural areas just get swamped. And that's what's happened in Virginia too. And once you get out into the country, it's a different world. I don't know how you fix that, because that's where all the vote is. That's where all the power is. And it's like, you wish you could have a rural state and a the cities almost become like a city state or something where they have their own. Yeah. It's the city of, it's the state of Maricopa. And then there's the rest of Arizona.
Yeah.
It's
well,
like,
it's frustrating as a rural person to any other rural person out there that we just get stomped on by the big city. And it could only be one city in your whole state, but it's enough to trump any other, rules. And
look at Colorado. Look at Colorado. Yeah. It's Denver.
Yeah.
And the rest of it's pretty conservative.
Yeah.
Look at New Mexico. It's basically you got Albuquerque and then, the nuts up in Santa Fe that, and then the rest of the state's like, what? And the state's just destroyed. And it's just political, just craziness. And yet they keep voting these people in. So in Virginia, GOP loses. Of course, people look at this as a kind of a vote on Youngkin, who was, they were able to switch the governorship last election from Democrat to Republican, but now it's he's going to have trouble getting anything through.
Have problems.
He had eyes on the presidency, which all these governors do. Every one of them thinks they're going to be president. It's just like, I just wish they'd get in, do the job, and just go away.
Yeah, and not worry so much about their
next
political
office.
Future.
I know it's so nauseating. That's a big one. So we'll see how that pans out. Democrat Andy Beshear won re-election in Kentucky,
right.
Which Kentucky is as red can be.
I know. I don't get that one either.
He's very popular. He's a very popular governor.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't. And that's fine if he's not totally wackadoodle, Democrat, leftist. Okay. And you're like, okay, there's some things I don't like. I don't know anything about the guy, but obviously conservative Republicans in Kentucky had to flip over and vote for this guy. It's a Democrat state. It's only one of 3 red states with a Democrat governor. How many states are there conservative, the Democrat states that have a Republican governor? I bet you there's
0.
none.
How come it's always even one?
Yeah, it's always that way. It's just it's really weird. So, and then the other one was Mississippi. Got so much crossed out as we go. Mississippi, Republican governor holds off.
Just barely.
Just barely. Then that was a second term. Held off Presley. It was supposedly, I thought this was funny. He's like the second cousin of Elvis Presley. What? What does that mean?
Who cares?
The second cousin twice removed 5 times whatever. Yeah. It's like, what? What is that? Does he know does he know what he's doing? Does he have any capability?
Why does that matter at all?
I mean, does he play a mean guitar? Yeah. Can he swing his hips? I mean, what does that mean? But the Democrats saw this as a possible pickup. They flooded it with money, and they almost did it, but
they thought the name alone might be enough, but
I guess
apparently not.
I guess. I mean, maybe if it was Elvis, I don't know. Elvis comes out, he's still alive. It's like,
maybe
I'm
that
there.
is him.
Maybe it is. Let's pull up a picture of him.
Change his name.
All right, the other night, Angela and I and the family went to Namarco's Pizza. We told you about it on Monday.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Was it Gary's?
Yeah, the specialty pizzas.
Gary's specialty pizza. Excellent. I don't know if it was just how they cooked it that night. I never had Gary's. It was like deep dish almost. It was really good.
Really tasty then. I mean, it always is when we go there. But that night in particular, whoever's working there on Sunday, excellent job.
Well, Isabel was working there, our daughter.
No, she wasn't making the pizza though.
Maybe it was just good vibes. It's just good vibes. Anyway, then and we also got the wings. And I just was like, I normally don't eat too many of those. But I could have eaten like a bucket of those. It was kind of scary, and so wings, and then we got the fried zucchini. Oh man, I'm getting hungry. So why don't you go to Namarco's Pizza, 3 locations in Flagstaff. Don't forget tomorrow about their lunch specials as well. You can get out of there usually under $10 for one person, and you're going to be full. You're going to have great pizza, maybe a salad and a drink. Stop by Namarco's Pizza. Order online as well at namarcospizza.com. That's namarcospizza.com. Hang tight. Back in a minute. I was thinking we were just talking about Gary's Pizza at Namarco's. But Owen has what is that thing? A snail in his fish tank that's called Gary?
Well, yeah, he calls him Jerry or Gary. He's had a few snails, and the names kind of rotate.
This thing's walking across the floor this morning.
I know.
Angela kicked it.
He keeps getting out of the tank, and this is the 3rd time now. We found him on the floor. Today it was in the hallway.
Crunch.
I almost stepped on him. Yeah. I thought he was a blueberry because it was dark still. And then I was like, wait, why would a blueberry be sitting in the hallway? So,
Angela picks up. She's like, 3-second rule crunch. It's weird though, man.
Put him back in. He's still alive. And then he'll escape again in a couple
thinks
days.
he's going for the toilet. He's like, I'm out of here. And we were joking. We were like, flush him down. And it's going to be like Godzilla out there.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Monster snail.
It starts eating the tallest building in Flagstaff.
See, here's the thing though. His fish tank has a lot of algae in it and we can't seem to get rid of it. And so we've got the snails to eat the algae, but then he keeps getting out. So,
well, and they banned the previous snail that actually ate all the algae because I guess it was getting out and being invasive. Remember,
yes.
Yeah, you no longer can buy the ones that work. I don't know if people are throwing them in the lakes or something. And
so now we get this other kind that likes, he doesn't want to eat what's in there. He wants to get out.
All right. I'll get back to the election stuff, get more into Flagstaff outcomes as far as the propositions, Prescott as well, and a couple other state and national ones for the second hour of the program. But I want to switch gears to an education-related issue. Last time Angela was on, a whopping 2 days ago on Monday, we talked about Flagstaff Unified School District get the letter grades.
Oh, right. They were declining.
If you missed that one, it's Monday's show. I would highly encourage listening back to the podcast, talkwithjeff.com, because there was weird stuff there. It was like, a D now equals a C.
Well, they didn't say that. It was
That's how I
just
interpreted
that
it. Yeah.
Whatever the score was out of 100,
screwy.
And we're looking at one that scored like 67 out of 100, and they're getting
that's a C.
They're getting a C, and both you and I think that's a D territory.
Yeah, yeah. And now this was grading the school, not that it wasn't like they have changed the grades for kids. We're not talking about that.
This is
like how the school ranks as far as like, can the kid read? Kids read?
Right. Yeah.
Generally not. Can they do basic math? Judging by the metrics that they used in this scale, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, math has kind of become a back burner type thing. I mean, look at Congress. What do we get? We got a little over
a dime there.
Today's the 8th. We got a little over a week. I think it's the 17th or something. It's coming up soon. When the next deadline hits for the budget, right? When they're going to run out of money and, oh my God, a government shutdown.
The worst thing ever.
Shut them down already. Who cares?
Yeah.
So we're going to have the shutdown politics happening again, and we're going to hear about the babies and the kittens and, we're not funding our border patrol and we're not funding our troops. And it's like, well, fund the troops. Pass that part. You got the money. We sent you the taxes. Don't use that as a hostage. Not funding our quote unquote essentials.
That's the only way they can get what they want.
I know, because they know that most Americans would be like, yeah, if the ding dong bureaucrats and the cubicles go home, there's no loss for America. But if the soldiers don't get paid, if the border patrol agents don't get paid, that's serious, and they should get the money. So they use these people over and over again. But anyway, these people can't count. We have close to a $2 trillion federal deficit. And now, the verdict's still out for me on the new speaker. Because I already hear talk about, let's extend this till January. Maybe we do it till March. Let's do another continuing resolution. It's like, wasn't that the whole point of getting the last bozo out of there and getting a new guy in here so we can finally say, nope, the line is here.
Right.
Right?
Well, that's what they should do, and they should put it off on the Senate or the president to veto it. And
pass a budget that you find appropriate with the Republicans.
If they don't sign it, that's
if
their
they don't
problem.
sign it, then the Senate Democrats shut it down. Then the Democrat presidents shut it down. Let them shut it down. Don't be a bunch of wimps. I'm preparing for wimpery. My expectations on the speaker will probably be, because I have some expectations right now, probably be crushed here within the next week to 10 days. That's where I'm preparing myself for disappointment once again.
9-10 days, whatever it is.
9-10 days, I'm going to be like, Republican Party is totally useless once again.
We'll find out.
I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I'd like to say I'm wrong about it and that they're going to actually do something and for the betterment of the country and the kids and the grandkids and the great grandkids rather than driving
do what you say. That's what the frustrating thing is. They say all this stuff and then they don't do it. And follow through.
Anyway, back to our education system, because I think it stems from that. A lot of failing schools out there. Arizona is the role model and the model for school choice in the country that others are following. Katie Hobbs, governor of Arizona, Democrats, and other the teachers union groups, those folks, they want to paint it as education, school choice. The vouchers where you can send your kid to any school you want is the demise of Arizona's budget.
Yeah, it's their fault.
It's stupidity on a grand scale that these people churn out. It's not true. We have a budget, believe it or not. It looks like we're going to have deficit problems coming up in the next session. We went from these record surpluses of multi-billions of dollars, and I told you this day was coming, that they were going to they're going to overspend and then say, oh no, now we got to make cuts. It's like, you mean the budget you doubled? Right. In 10 years, all of a sudden we got to cut that, and now this is a problem. We used to be able to live off of 9-10 billion, and now 18 billion. If you go down to 15 billion, it's a problem. Ridiculous.
It's still way more than they used to have.
We got a bunch of failing schools. We all know that. And we all know you got freedom of choice to move your kids where you want. Well, check this article out. This is from ABC 15. Phoenix Union High School District is testing a weapons detectors at 2 Valley high schools. I got more here. I'll read you some of the article. If you're in a school district that is spending money, time, and effort and feels they have to install weapons detectors at the high schools, that's a sign. That's like, okay, I want the kids to be protected, but I can move my kid to any other school. I'm going to find a school that doesn't feel the need to install weapons detectors.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
You're going to waste your time.
Why would you keep going there?
Why would you keep going there? That school should be just the door should be swung open and the kids should be fleeing when this becomes a priority. It's not the stupid kids they're churning out that can't read anymore.
Yeah, and
that can't do math,
pass their classes,
that probably then get elected to Congress. No, it's let's focus on here's the real problem. No, the real problem is parents need to stand up and get their kids out of these dang schools as quickly as possible. Here's some of this article from ABC 15. At last Thursday's board meeting, the board voted to start a pilot program and use weapons detectors at 2 of its high schools. A majority of those who spoke during the public comment regarding the weapons detectors were principals within the district who wanted them. Quote, you're not voting on a machine, you're voting on a promise to keep everyone safe, said Lorenzo Cabrera, the principal of Franklin Police and Fire High School. And like I said, if you have to put weapons detectors in your school, you've already lost the battle here at this point. The district plans to rent 8 to 9 sets and put them at the school's entrances. So as the kids go in, it's like, TSA, going to the airport type stuff.
So is it like the scanner thing or is it just you walk through the thing? I think
you just walk through a thing. I don't think it's obviously much more advanced than a metal detector. Going and getting wanded and stuff. So they're going to rent them. Each one costs $1,500 per month to rent. And if the district eventually buys it, the rental cost will be applied to the purchase of the detectors.
They're going to buy it.
Oh, this is happening.
Yeah, they're buying it.
Yeah, I mean, this will happen whether you want it to or not, because these are trained bureaucrats. They're very smart. These are the smartest people on the face of the planet that are slowly destroying our country. $17,000 per unit to buy. $17,000. So they'll probably rent them for so long that they just okay, now we just got them. We got to use them now.
Yeah, why not? We have them.
I mean, what are we talking? 12 months of rental?
Yeah.
And they're going to apply all of it? Whatever. That's their problem. These people that keep funding these defunct schools. The district said one-time funding will be used for the pilot project. I always love how they have the one-time funding. Kid can't buy a backpack, or, they can't get computers and books, but they always got one-time funding for something stupid, right? Okay, quote, our schools need layers to deter unwelcome behavior to allow us to do amazing things with our students, said Laura Tells in the school board meeting. Tells is the chief achievement officer for PX, Phoenix Union High School, I guess. Wow. Our schools need layers to deter unwelcome behavior and to allow us to do amazing things with our students. I'm sure it's amazing that how many schools are C and D. I mean, they're just knocking it out of the park here. Right. And then what is Chief Achievement Officer? Chief of chief. What is that? The CAO. I went to school to be I went to school my whole life. Then I went to college. Then I became the CAO, and I make $100 and something thousand dollars a year.
It seems like they could better spend their money on hiring more teachers, which I understand is a problem
rather
right
than
now.
a CAO.
But get rid of the CAO and get 2 more teachers.
Yeah.
And make the student to teacher ratio a better looking number.
But you need a chief achievement officer, right? I mean, chief achievement officer. That is necessary. And I mean, just like, go on, little Billy. You're doing so good, Billy. Let me give you a participation ribbon. What is that? Ay. Look, I would defund a lot of these. I would break up these schools into smaller units.
Like I am so against the
big mega schools.
Jailing up of our kids every day with the fences, the metal detectors, the security officers. I mean, the whole thing just makes me sick to think that kids are sitting there in jail every day.
I know.
It's equivalent to a jail to
me. What
does
it do to their heads that, now I'm in a school that we're all locked up now like prisoners. And nobody went, look, I want the kids to be safe. But if you look at the stats, the schools are some of the safest places. When these tragedies happen, when these wacko evil people go and target soft targets, because that's what these are, they go and target soft targets and kill people, kill innocent people. It's the worst thing ever. But statistically speaking, your kids are some of the safest places. Make them safer by doing what some schools are doing right here in Arizona, in Texas, which is they allow properly trained staff members to carry concealed. They have to go through the training, the courses, carry concealed, et cetera, et cetera. We know many schools that are doing that now. Don't make it a hard target. Don't keep it a soft target. Put a sign up front.
Like the schools already, they lock all the doors, you know, from the, you can't get in without your card or without getting buzzed in. And I mean, it just seems like
they keep adding more layers
to me. Well, like it's just no different than if you got to go run an errand and you leave your, 12-year-old at home alone. You lock the doors and you're like, don't open the door. And that's just basic stuff. The schools do that. They don't let anyone just walk in. So why the need for
these weapons,
all these additional
detectors.
things?
And if some wacko with evil intent is going to target a school, do they have armed people manning the weapons detectors?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Is then there's another person with a job to monitor the
weapons detectors,
and at 8 different locations in the school.
It's just ridiculous. And they keep look. I think if you were to break up these schools into smaller schools, things would get a lot better and give them more power.
Well, it's evident in the just in Flagstaff, the
test
scores.
Yeah, look at the smaller ones.
Schools that are they have a governing board that runs the one property with 500, 1,000 students, whatever it is, somewhere in that range for these smaller schools, charter schools mainly, versus the 9,000 kids at FUSD or wherever. Yeah. And you can see it in the test scores.
Yep. Look, why not break these up? And they always say, we got to be bigger because then it's cheaper to run the administration. It's cheaper the buses, the block. No, it's not. You just create layers and layers. I mean, they admit it here. They want to create layers of security now. Everything is, they would rather be in charge of a lot of these administrators, a bigger kingdom. They don't want to be in charge of a 20-person school or a 300-person school. Oh, we've got 9,000 students, and I've got 3 assistants and 3 deputies. It's like cities.
Well, yeah.
Now, how many deputy city managers do you have in your town?
Yeah.
What do these people even do?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, next hour we'll talk about some of the propositions in Flagstaff, and one of them has to do with people who live outside the city, and the voters of Flagstaff actually got this one right, and they were trying to pull a fast one on us. The council, they really were.
I'm glad they got a smackdown last night.
Yeah, they got a smackdown. Let's get you some of the details on that coming up here in just a little bit. Hey, remember, if you get a rock chip in your windshield, always call Diamond Auto Glass first. Fix that rock chip before it spreads to the rest of your windshield. If you need a new windshield, though, Diamond Auto Glass, they got it for you. They'll get it fixed. They also have the technology and the know-how to make sure that all those cameras are aligned. It ain't just as easy as sticking a piece of glass in there in some alleyway anymore. You got to have, it's happened. I've seen it happen. You've got to have the people that will align those cameras so that you're not running off the side of the road as you're not paying attention to your self-driving vehicle that you're supposed to be paying attention to. Call Diamond Auto Glass at 928-779-4140. That's 928-779-4140, or go to thedifferenceisclear.com. Back in a minute. If you're listening to the podcast, please give us a great review and also give us a comment in there. If you're not listening to the podcast, subscribe. Look up the Jeff Oravits Show. Also on video, Rumble, follow us there, and on YouTube, subscribe. We appreciate everyone who's done that.
This is the Jeff Oravits Show.
Next hour, we'll give you more details on Flagstaff Prescott election results, some statewide and national results. Talk to you about a woman who died of getting trampled by an elk in northern Arizona. And I got something on grizzly bears. I've got something on the censure of Rashid Tlaib, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, and much more. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a minute. All right, welcome back. Hour 2 of the show. Angela's here with me. Comments always welcome. Talk with Jeff at iCloud.com. I'll get to more of the election stuff. If you weren't with us last hour, the big one in Flagstaff was Prop 480 gets trounced. I mean, this was a smackdown by over 70%. That was for the new hospital south of Flagstaff, the zoning change, making the thing like 16 stories. It was totally out of, it just got trounced.
It just doesn't jive with the character of this town.
Yeah. I want to get into some of the propositions in Flagstaff and Prescott, a couple more state and national issues as well in just a minute. But let's do some animal stuff first, because why not? Change gears a little bit in just a second here. Don't forget, it is the special with Gutter Helmet of Northern Arizona. This will end soon. I got a huge savings for you on Gutter Helmet's awesome system. Gutter Helmet with over 40 years of experience, a lifetime fully transferable warranty. This is a system that deflects all the pine needles from your gutters, so you don't have to get up on the roof and clean them out from all the pine needles, all the leaves, and it keeps your gutters flowing. Once we eventually get snow and ice and all that, then it really helps. I was joking yesterday, if the hospital had gone through, they'd want to take advantage of this gutter protection system, because who the heck wants to go 16 stories up and climb that? Anyway, call or text Gutter Helmet of Northern Arizona. Best discount I've ever been able to offer here on the program, 35% off when you mention the Jeff Oravits Show. Join a bunch of people who have got this great system on their home. That's Gutter Helmet of Northern Arizona, 928-318-6555. Call or text 928-318-6555. That's 928-318-6555, or go to gutterhelmetsnaz.com. Okay, 2 animal stories here. One in Arizona. An Arizona woman has died after being trampled by an elk. Last I checked, they hadn't released her name, which I'm usually actually fine with. You know, I never get too excited about the naming side of things on stuff. The fact is that this happens, and I think it's a big reminder, and Arizona Game and Fish, of course, is also reminding. It's suspected that, and they don't know for sure yet, but they found like feed that was being brought out and stuff.
Like she was feeding.
Feeding. And a lot of people do that. We've seen plenty of people do that in neighborhoods where they, I guess, bait the animals because, it's, look, they're eating the thing.
Well, they like to see them or watch them, or they think it's February and there's nothing to eat and they must be hungry and we should feed them.
Yeah, that's monumentally stupid there, because they're animals. They will find the food. Yeah. And if not, quite frankly, like in Flagstaff, we have an overpopulation of deer, and the herd needs to be quelled and
or move
thinned
out
a bit.
Of the city a little bit.
I don't know how they're going to do that. They've tried to open up hunting around the city more and offer more tags.
Well, I mean that if you
areas.
don't have enough food within the city,
they'll move.
They will move out voluntarily.
Yeah, but it's tough. You get a cush life. Nobody's shooting at you.
Yeah.
You know?
But if there's too many of them and there's not
but you're not
food,
getting shot at,
Yeah.
and there's water features in the back
Yeah.
of people's yards. There's golf courses with water, and we've been duck and geese hunting lately. All the geese are on the golf course, so you could go eat the geese remnants. I mean, there's like an unending supply of food out there, right? But people, they put out the bait, they put out the food because it's fun to watch the animals. Totally unnecessary, because all I see is I'm like chasing them away because they're causing damage, especially if the elk come in. Mm-hmm. Very destructive. Yeah.
I mean, I know they break tree limbs and they dig or their feet make indentations in the gravel. And
I had a pack of javelina down in Canada. Is that the right term? Pack? Swarm? A bunch of them. I don't know how they got in the yard, like dug under a 12 by 12 patio blocks and all this in an area. They went crazy. I looked out there. I was like, "What in the world happened?" It's like it got carpet bombed overnight.
You
and I was like,
the camera in there.
Yeah, I got to get a game camera out there. How did they even get in? It's fenced off. Yeah. I know they're not good jumpers, so they must have squeezed in somehow. But anyway, so this lady died apparently from trampling from elk, and as you know, elk are quite large. This was actually outside. I wasn't even really aware of this area. I know I see the mountain there that'd be like kind of southeast of Kingman, a big mountain range right there.
Sometimes they get snow up in the top
there. Yeah. So there's an area called Pine Lake up there.
Yeah, I've never been.
Never been up there, but I looked on like realtor.com, and some of the places for sale looked very similar. I don't know if I'd say Flagstaff, maybe even more like Crown King if you've ever been there. How many places in Arizona that I need to get around even more that are tucked away, that are like 5,000-6,000 feet up or cooler? And this is apparently 15, 20 minutes from Kingman, and then I-40. And then, I mean, Vegas is 2 hours if you want to catch a plane anywhere or
concert or something.
Or something. So anyway, this little area of Pine Lake, there was homes for maybe 400,000 or 500,000 up there from what I saw. It looked pretty nice. She was outside apparently. Woman's husband found her on the ground in the couple's backyard at 6 p.m. on October 26th with quote-unquote injuries consistent with being trampled by an elk. Arizona Game and Fish reminds people feeding puts at risk the person doing the feeding, their neighbors, and the wildlife itself. Please do not feed the wildlife.
How many times?
How many times? I mean, I don't know, again, if this was the case.
Well, it's either that or they're trying to get a picture close up or they're trying to touch it or just, stop people, give them their space.
Yeah, I know when we were in Yellowstone a couple years ago, the buffalo were
you hear about those stories. Every year there's a bison that the people are trying to rescue. And
you remember the one recently? You talked about it in like was it deer or bison or what they went across one of the rivers in Yellowstone?
Yeah, one of the babies didn't make it.
So some nitwit picks up the baby.
They're like putting it in their trunk and
they're
stuff.
They're like, the mom left it. The mom will find it.
They'll come back.
Now, we had remember the little skunk?
Oh yeah, the little baby skunk.
It was so cute. It's this tiny little thing. And then it
got separated.
The mom just took off. I was like, whew. Call
the baby
CPS on that
couldn't make
mom.
it up the stairs or something like that.
And then what's
the
it do?
Mom came back.
No, but the little skunk goes in her garage and goes under the little Mini Cooper, which has like 3 inches of clearance, right? Barely roll a small rock under the thing. And I'm like, great. So I left the garage door open all night. And sure enough, she was gone.
It was gone.
The mom came back or something ate it.
Yeah. Well, it didn't smell like skunk, so I don't think it was dead.
I don't know if they have their skunk smeller thingers at that young age or not. I'm not sure. It was interesting.
That was cute, though.
So, don't do that. Now, locals in northern Washington state, not Washington, D.C., although maybe we should try this in Washington, D.C. to see how the politicians like this. So Biden and, the geniuses that are living in Geniusville, coming up with all the genius ideas every single day, want to release grizzly bears in northern Washington. Right, so they want to bring.
Aren't they already there, or at least they're in Idaho?
They're not in this particular area for some reason.
Well, they're in Idaho and Montana, right?
They are. Same. They're in. I think they're in. Are they in northern Utah, very northern part of Colorado? I'm not sure if they're that far south, but obviously
definitely Wyoming,
Montana, Idaho. I follow things that are going on sometimes in Idaho because sometimes I think, man, 100 acres up in northern Idaho might, sparsely populated might be a good idea. And, the people I follow that are up there are like, you better be carrying at least a 45 when you go out all the time. maybe something larger, but you don't want it so large that you don't want to bring it, and then you get eaten by a grizzly bear. We were in, what was that place?
Avanda,
Montana, and
Avanda or something.
They had all these tents out there, people camping, and it was like a week later, someone got dragged out in the middle of the night and killed and mauled by a grizzly bear. Now, I get kind of mixed on these because the grizzly bears, their territory was there, and there was still grizzlies in this particular area till mid-1970s. They were hunted out. People hunt them for various reasons, trophy, et cetera, but also ranchers, farmers, because grizzly bear they're gonna take your cattle.
The bears, not only grizzlies but black bears too, are incredibly smart.
Yeah,
and they figure out how to get things open, and that's why if you've ever camped up anywhere, even in Arizona, you'll see the bear-proof trash containers and stuff like that. But they've figured out now, like the DoorDash people, and they leave the food at the door, and the bears are coming and swiping it.
Oh yeah, I would.
I mean, they figure out ways around.
Was that bear recently that took all the burgers off the grill?
Yeah,
they were
that was
dinner
in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
Yes, people were camping and they had all their burgers on the grill. And
outside Prescott just last year, somebody, and it gets pretty remote up there in the Broad Shell Mountains. I think there was a cabin up there, and a guy was out there having his morning coffee. And we don't have grizzly bears, but the
black bear
came and killed him. I mean, you think grizzly bears, you think they're the ones that are going to get you, which is very possible if you mess with them. I don't even know if shooting them is a good idea. You just piss them off.
Yeah.
And they kill you and they might die.
Yeah.
Anyway, the guy was out there and it mauled him, killed him. It's just like, so even in areas there's a couple reasons why I look at more and more I should be carrying every second I'm out is the crime is increasing in the country, but also if you're outdoors a lot, you just never know. I mean, in eastern Arizona, you've got the wolves now. It's not out of the question that they're right down Lake Mary Road somewhere at this point. I swear I heard one camping down there last year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
their
range is extreme. Exactly.
Exactly. Sometimes they wander.
That thing was close, and I had a gun sitting there just in case, right? You never know. But anyway, so the Fish and Wild Service and the National Park Service, so this is all feds, 50 people showed up in opposition to the federal grizzly bear proposal to add grizzly bears to this area. Had a member of Congress there, speaking up against it. People concerned, obviously, for their family.
It's so funny that Biden's like, let's just release these bears near people's homes and whatever communities.
Yeah, I think grizzly bears in D.C.
I mean, what are they thinking?
Did they used to have grizzlies in D.C.? I mean, whatever natural predators used to be in D.C., maybe we should just release them by the White House. Like all of a sudden it's like all these politicians are like, it's like if a politician had to live with a grizzly bear, like if they were in their backyard. And look, if I moved up to Idaho or Wyoming or Montana, I'd be like, I understand that there's grizzly bears here. I'm going to bring as much protection as I can when I go out hiking because this is their territory. And they can come on my property anytime and they could eat me. Right? You understand that.
They're bigger than me.
However, in Northern Washington, it's gotten to a point where it's developed and they did hunt them out. And it's been like that for a long time. And reintroducing them at this point, probably not the best idea.
What is their rationale for that? Like
Probably
what is
the ecosystem,
logic?
Because that's the top of the food chain. So maybe there's other predators that aren't getting taken down and, the population sizes and stuff. But hey, at this point, they're not there anymore. And maybe offer up more hunting tags for the predators you're trying to take out or whatever you're trying to balance out here. I mean, look, could you imagine what it was like in the Midwest with the buffalo, the millions and millions of buffalo that were hunted out so many years ago? And in a perfect world, you'd be like, how could we find a way to not do that, not hunt them out, and to have, that's why we have things like here in Arizona Game and Fish. That's why we have hunters that pay, and then that money goes to conservation and this and that, and they try to release only enough tags to kind of maintain the population in a healthy manner.
They have science down to how many.
It's a balance because in the old world, there would have been more wolves and things taken out, the weak deer and this and that, right? Remember when we got the bird stamp and we had to go over to the Cottonwood post office and this postal worker gives us the stamp And it says on there hunting and conservation.
Birding conservation.
Yeah, and he's
something.
like, oh, so you're not going to shoot them, right? You're just conserving them, you know. And he had this look. He's wearing a mask.
Yeah, he
know,
thought he
like,
was so clever.
I was like, oh,
yeah, we're conserving them.
It's just like, well, you have no idea. This is how things are funded for this, and it's like
$50 for two
it's
stamps.
$50 for two stamps, and it's just like, well, what do you eat, dude? You know, where do you think your chicken comes from? You think that's a very humane thing?
Have you seen the chickens?
Have you seen the chicken in the cage? I mean, come on.
The cows and
then you sit here and
pigs.
lecture us about going out and hunting. Give me a break. It's like these people need to get out more or something. I don't know what's going on with them. So anyway, you have boneheaded politicians in Washington, D.C. that if they saw a grizzly bear, they would scream like a little girl. I probably would too, to be honest with you. But could you imagine these shiny shoe, suit wearing, bureaucrat, cubicle dwelling, wimpy little wet noodles, you know, going out in nature. And if you did this by their house, they would be like, oh, we can't do that. Yeah. We can't re-release animals in Washington, D.C. or New Jersey where I live or wherever. Right? I mean, could you imagine? It's like I've been saying for a long time, you know, the gas can. Back to the gas can. All goes back to the gas can. Let me see you pour that gas can, Mr. Senator.
Yeah.
Let's not get any on your nice shiny shoes. So anyway, the local people are up in arms about this. And one of them actually says, if a grizzly bear comes on my property, I'm going to shoot it.
So real quick, speaking of animals in D.C., I was just reading this morning that the National Zoo, they're losing their 3 giant pandas.
Chinese want them back?
Yeah, they're sending them back to China. They're like on loan or something.
Chinese.
Like the Chinese,
taking
like
our panda bears.
When Nixon was president, and they were kind of like getting good relations with the Chinese then, and
get
they
pandas.
we sent them a muskox or something, and, and they sent us a giant panda like as a gift.
They finally realized they got ripped off.
So now they don't want to gift the pandas anymore. They want to just like loan them to us. So
I did the same thing.
But we've seen them in the National Zoo, and the National Zoo, by the way, is really cool because you don't have to pay to walk. You could go there for half an hour.
You just walk in there.
Just walk in the thing.
There's homeless people living all over the place next to the pandas.
When we've been there, because you walk in for as little or as long as you want and go where you want.
It is pretty cool.
And you don't have to pay for it, so you don't feel like you got to get your money's worth or anything.
Oh, you're paying for it.
Well, it's not.
But the Chinese,
not a ticket gate there.
The Chinese finally wised up.
Yeah, so the 3 giant pandas, which are the huge things, they're flying them over with this whole team of people back to China.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Because I guess they're like beyond the reproductive age or something, so they want to live out their golden years in China.
They're going home.
Yeah, and anyway, that was cool to see the giant pandas because they're not. I think there's only one other zoo in the U.S. that has them.
Yeah,
and they also had a red panda there, which is the small kind, but still kind of rare to see. You just don't see that here. So
dang it! If pandas are going back, first of all, I want to see that. I hope they get first class and wear your seatbelt. I want our muskox back. Give us that musk.
That was back in the gifting time.
Yeah, I want that thing back. It's probably dead. All right. If you want to get new blind shutters or shades, I don't know if they have grizzly bear proof or politician proof blind shutters or shades at the Blind Brothers, but it's well worth a call to find out. I think we're getting to that point where I don't know if they have ballistic blinds and shades as well, but call the Blind Brothers because, man, they did such a good job for Angela and I and got rid of our old blinds and they came in. We got these new ones. They installed them. I highly recommend that the Blind Brothers do the installation for you. I got a great special for you. Mention the Jeff Oravits Show. They're going to give you half off on the installation. So it's a great deal. Don't do it yourself. You want these things to stay up when you actually use them. Call the Blind Brothers right now at 928-634-2423. That's 928-634-2423 or go to theblindbrothers.com. Another vote happened yesterday, and that was in Congress in the House. They voted to censure Rashida Tlaib. I think she's the only Palestinian in Congress. I don't know when she came over. I think within the last couple of decades. She came out. Yeah, here it is. The only Palestinian American in Congress has come under bipartisan criticism after sharing a video on social platform X that included the phrase, from the river to the sea, a pro-Palestinian liberation slogan. She's been out there as well as the squad members supporting basically Hamas and coming out with the most ridiculous statements. You see these marches that are going around around the country. A little scary. I mean, a little scary.
Someone like her with a, platform.
Oh yeah, she's got the platform. Yeah. Well, they censored her, which is basically a slap on the wrist. Hey, bad girl.
Watch it.
Watch it. And there was a Republican put forward the censure movement like a week ago, and it got turned down. But then Tlaib's been, I suspect, she's been criticizing Biden, and you don't do that. So she's been criticizing Biden. So now some Democrats jumped over to smack her down, So anyway, that happened. One interesting one here for you. Spent some time yesterday talking about Dodge's plan to come up with the the EV with the generator. This is during the second hour of the show. They've got a new Dodge Ram truck that's going to have an EV motor, but then because people are unsure and they don't feel secure and with the range.
The range.
It's like EV derangement syndrome or
range
something.
Anxiety.
Range
or
anxiety.
Called it.
If you have range anxiety, you can get the new Dodge Ram that also has a V6 gasoline generator, also known as a gasoline engine in any other condition. 3.6 liter V6 gasoline generator that if your EV runs out of juice, you just plug it in and you charge it from the gasoline engine.
How about that?
Wow. It is truly the apex and the point at which you see the decline in the EV and the EV crash, I would believe. I kind of study the cycle of bubbles, and I think we just passed over the top on this one, and now you're going to see the burning up in flames. The EV dream is going down when you have to duct tape a generator to the roof.
Yeah.
And go out. And that's your big market.
Then you're using gas.
That's
anyway.
your big marketing plan. Dodge, there's already something like this out there. Toyota's been doing it for a while. It's called a hybrid.
Yeah.
And they've been quite successful at it.
Got a lot of them.
Just license it from Toyota. You'll be better off at this point. Anyway, the best way to extinguish a flaming electric vehicle, an article from the Wall Street Journal, is to just let it burn.
Oh, not put it in the dumpster or whatever.
Just let it burn. Fire departments are grappling across the country of how to handle these intense chemical fires is what they are in EV cars because they last much longer. They're harder to extinguish, to dump in water,
I don't get how many cars are really catching on fire. I mean, is this happening a lot? I guess with the more and more of them, there's...
I don't know, but, it's apparently happening and it's a problem. And the best way, according to a bunch of experts now, is just got to let the dang thing burn. Just got to let it burn out. There's really not much you can do. It's comforting. It's really comforting. So anyway, yeah, I think we've reached the peak.
That's not environmentally friendly.
I'm making this, yeah, right. I mean, green smoke is never good. There's, it looks cool, like when the sun's going down through it and behind it, it's like it creates a great sunset, but don't breathe that crap, right? Like I said, this is the apex of the EV insanity, and these stupid politicians. They've really ruined something that could have developed better, and it'll still develop. But they've made it so partisan and so politicized, and they had false government mandates and edicts that just could never happen. That companies are losing billions, and they're all going to start running from this stuff, and it's going to become a very specialized niche market now going forward. Yep, get your Dodge zero emission EV truck
/ gasoline
with duct tape, apparently. Love to hear from you. Talk with Jeff at iCloud.com. Get those comments in. Hey, if you're thinking about refinancing your home, call Kim Dawson at Nova Home Loans. Look, she knows the Northern Arizona market. And the thing I really like about Nova Home Loans, Arizona's largest privately owned mortgage lender, they can make local decisions like a bank, but because they're also a broker, they have access to all the best programs. And you really need access to all the best programs right now because obviously interest rates have gone up much more. So you need to find a program that works for you, especially if you're a first-time buyer. She also does investment properties, second homes, off-grid properties. Kim Dawson at Nova Home Loans, she can help you out. And mention the Jeff Oravits Show when you call Kim Dawson. Get $250 off the lender's fee at closing. Here's the number for Kim, 928-310-6458. That's 928-310-6458. 888-310-6458 or go to novahomeloans.com/Kim Dawson. Kim Dawson, NMLS 697-411. Nova Home Loans, NMLS 3087, BK number 090242. Equal housing opportunity, subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions may apply. Back in a minute. All right, let's get back to some election results here. And then I'd like to end the show, if I have enough time remaining, with which country drinks the most. I have an interesting... Do you know which one it is?
I have a guess.
Just guess right now.
First guess was Germany, but
okay. I thought so too, but you're wrong. But they do drink a lot, and we'll get to the numbers here in just a little bit.
Let me think about it.
Yeah, you think about that. Okay, so obviously last night was election night for many places around the country. We went over, was it last hour? Mm-hmm. The results in Virginia. Virginia lost. The Republicans lost the House. The Democrats retained the Senate. Mississippi, the Republican was able to hang on in the governorship, but the Democrat in
Kentucky,
deep blue, red Kentucky was able to hang on. Mm-hmm. I don't get that. Ohio voted for recreational marijuana, the 24th state to allow that. So basically, we're getting to close to the halfway point of states that allow recreational weed. Mm-hmm. The ship has long since sailed on that one.
Yeah, they may as well just let that one go.
Yeah, that one's just. I don't even hear that as a battle cry for Republicans and conservatives.
They've lost that war.
It's just like that one's so gone.
Yeah.
The other one, though, that's slipping that I think is much more important for the future of our country and humanity, quite frankly, is it seems like the abortion issue is also slipping in many places. In deep red Ohio, at least I think it was deep red. Who the heck knows anymore? They basically made a constitutional amendment to.
Do they do the 15-week thing?
Well, they were trying the 15-week ban, but then there's a constitutional amendment that you can't touch it, basically. So Ohio basically voted to allow just it's in the Constitution, abortions,
At any time?
Right now, yeah, because they were trying the 15-week ban. And
I thought they were doing the 15-week thing, and I was like, okay.
Didn't make it.
I mean, not everyone's going to be happy with that, but at least it's something, and
I was just talking about that, yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't know that. So that was the vote to.
I mentioned you on the show yesterday. I don't know if you heard the show, but I said that you and I were talking about some of the issues like the transgender issue and the dudes, the 300-pound dude that's pretending to be a girl, like Jim Carrey on Ace Ventura when he goes into the mental institution.
Yeah.
Pass it to me, coach. This is stuff we joked about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah. When did that come out? Remember the crying game? Remember that?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Have you seen Ace Ventura, Pet Detective? And it was the joke. It was the laces out, the finger. What was it? The kicker?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, anyway. So I was like, hey, let's just as a country agree we can compromise and say that dudes don't belong in women's sports, right? Mm-hmm. We can't get to that. And then, okay, here's my compromise. Just create your transgender category.
Yeah, that's what I said last week or sometime. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm not going to the game. I really don't like it, but for the sake of moving on,
then that's what we have to do.
And then, okay, enough with the bathroom already. If you need your own special transgender bathroom, just put a big T on there.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody can go in there. I'd stay away from that bathroom. But for the sake of moving on and not going into a civil war, all right, let's do that. And then the abortion issue, I was like, look, I don't want abortion. And I'm glad at least we have a 15-week ban in Arizona, which they're getting signatures for. And if there is any indication of what's going on in the country, in Ohio especially, people might get suckered into making a constitutional amendment. But I always thought, and I've thought since Roe v. Wade went away, that, okay, at least we got the 15-week compromise here. At least we've got that.
I think that's too long, but I mean...
But at least we had.
If I gotta give something, I would give like 10-week or 12-week or something.
It's like you're pregnant at 12. It's like at least we had something, some restraints, some sanity, a little bit of sanity. Nope, it's just like people can't even agree on that. What does that say about the country? What does that say about the country? I can't understand
anyone that would be okay with any late term.
I don't get it.
Or partial birth. I cannot understand that.
The fact that we don't get it and that they're all gung ho about it and doing their speeches and so happy it's just like, I don't know how you recover from that, because I think there's some things you can compromise here on and at least say, at least we got something. But no, it's never enough for them. That's the problem with the left. It's never enough for them.
They've said, I mean, just to wrap this up, because I know you want to move on, but the liberals and the ones that are pro-choice, or they call it reproductive freedom, whatever. They've said all along, well, what about the rape and what about the incest? And
most has it built into it.
First of all, that's a really small proportion of them. But even if we were to give that to them and say, okay, we'll let you have the rape and incest exclusions, they still wouldn't be happy with that.
They're
either,
never
because
happy.
That's not what they really want.
They're
that's
never
just
happy.
What they say. What about this? What about that? That's not what they really want. They'd never be happy with it. They'd never be satisfied. And
so
I can't understand that.
So we try to compromise. We always lose.
And
they never compromise. That's the problem.
The compromises won't even go through at this point.
It's just ridiculous.
Like we can't even win the compromise.
Okay, back to the election results before we run out of time. As we mentioned last hour, the Northern Arizona Healthcare and the Flagstaff City Council basically had a massive political smackdown last night. I mean,
yeah,
like an EV that you can't put the fire out. That was that election last night. It's really embarrassing for the 6 members who supported this on the Flagstaff City Council. Super embarrassing.
I didn't really care if it passed. I would have been okay, like whatever.
Yeah.
But I voted no. But anyway, I was fully prepared for it to pass because Flagstaff is like that. I was just like, they pass the minimum wage, they pass every tax thing there is. It's all goes.
It's always good. Okay.
And so I thought, this thing will probably pass, even if I think it's not.
Crash and burn.
But it wasn't even close.
Over 70% rejected this hospital thing. Now, the Flagstaff City Council is really out of touch. They're out of touch with the leftists and the people on the right at this point. I don't know what's going on down there. I've never seen a group that's so out of touch.
Yeah.
Because usually it'd be kind of a split on issues down there, or at least 40
some
to 60.
opposition. There was none.
Whew. And then they sent 20 or 19 other questions to the ballot. So Prescott did a bunch as well. A lot of it was language stuff to conform with state law. That's fine. Let me go over a couple, though, that I am glad to see that in both Prescott and Flagstaff, the majority in Flagstaff, almost 75%, voted to change the nomination requirements to get on the ballot, because it's become really hard to get on the ballot because it's based off the total election. The Democrats, Republicans, all the turnout.
It's like a percentage.
You're getting more having to get more signatures in places like Prescott and Flagstaff than if you had run for Congress. So in both places, they voted to lower those to the lesser of. I mean, in Flagstaff, you can probably get on the ballot under 1,000 signatures now. I don't know the exact number, but that got that right. I'll skip over some of these here. Residency requirements in Flagstaff, Prop 463. They were trying to pull a fast one over on us. And I don't know how many members of the council moved this forward. It only takes a majority, simple majority. But if they all voted for it, it's like, what were you thinking? Your higher up people, your deputy city managers, your city managers, your attorney, things like that, heads of departments, man, they got so many employees down, so much bloat down there at this point. And, the sustainability department is like a beast that swallowed everything up. But anyway, they were trying to make it so you don't have to live in the city. It's like you're making rules and regulations for the people in the city. You should have to live in it and live under that. Nearly 70% of Flagstaff voters said, no. You got to live in the city.
And the ones for the boards and commissions, that one didn't pass either.
That was another one that the council was trying to pull a fast one over on us, was allowing people who don't live in the city of Flagstaff, can't vote in the city of Flagstaff, to serve on boards and commissions. And a majority of, how many was that? 80, almost 82%, another epic smackdown said, no. Yeah, that's not going to fly. No. And then another fast one they tried to pull on us is to give more power to the city manager. And I told you, city managers, it's like a circus act. They're always going around the country from city to city. No real vested roots in our community for the most part. Once in a while you get one that's within the community. But by and large, most of them, they recruit from out of town, out of state usually, and then they're on to the next place after a few years. Because people start to hate them so much, I think, is what happens. They make so many bad decisions. Anyway, my whole take on how things are going with our government is definitely tilted towards the negative, as you can tell. Anyway, nearly 81% of the voters of Flagstaff said, hey, if you want to spend more than, right now, if you spend over $500,000, you got to go to the voters, or you got to go have a council meeting, or you got to go to the voters, I think it is. They wanted to raise it to $1 million.
50,000.
$50,000. Sorry, no, $500,000. This is for facilities in excess of $1 million.
Okay.
It used to be $500,000. They wanted to extend it to $1 million.
Okay.
So we can just build something. And then there was the other one on the expenditures from 50 to 100.
Yeah.
They wanted to increase that. That failed too, right?
I don't know if I checked on that one.
Yeah,
but,
that one I'm not sure. The other one that's went down. Where did that go? Oh, they also tried to pull another fast one. Right now, you got to do 2 reads in your local council
to pass
something.
Yeah.
So one on a Tuesday, you vote to allow the hospital to be 160 feet high, 16 stories, double any other building. Normally, you'd have to come back and do a second read. They're like another night. They were proposing, we just do it all in one night. To hell with you. You don't need to come down here and voice your opinion. That failed almost 60%. So another epic smackdown there of the city council. City council, Flagstaff, get in touch with the left and the right is saying, oof. What are you guys doing? No. What are you guys doing? Yeah. At Prescott, one of them that did pass that was a little different than the Flagstaff ones was to raise the salaries a little bit, the stipend. It wasn't excessive. It was like $1,000 or $2,000 more dollars or something like that. Mm-hmm. I guess I can live with that because they're like $10,000 or something.
Oh, is that all they make?
And I would say they have a council that's in there as many hours as like Flagstaff. Flagstaff's 24,000. For a council member, 36 for the mayor. So there was quite the, I guess, disparity between, pay.
I don't mind increasing that a little bit. Those people, they
spend a lot of time.
They spend a lot of time. And
I can tell you from doing it, I mean, if you're doing it 20 hours a week, that's a little bit of time. It's more like a full-time job to be an effective council member. The mayor especially, that's a full-time
So unless you have money from some other source, you'd have to work another job because you couldn't live on that salary alone.
Statewide, basically most of the questions on the ballot were like school bonding issues. Almost everything passed.
Yeah.
They never vote to defund these schools.
One, the Grand Canyon one.
Money. Give them more money.
I think the fire district or somewhere in Men's Park, maybe.
You get a D, you get a C grade that used to be a D grade. Show me the money. We need more money, and the kids will be smarter. And it never works out. It always seems to bubble to the administrators and bigger behemoth schools.
The Ash Fork one,
that's about it.
The school one passed. The Williams Hospital District.
Yep.
Highlands Fire District.
There you go. That's a few things that hit throughout the country and throughout northern Arizona. We'll see what happens less than a year from now with the presidential race. And right here in Arizona, the Senate race. It's another big one everybody's watching. And I'll keep bringing people in after the new year as we get closer and closer to the primary to talk about why they should be and how they're going to change Washington, D.C. That's what they all say. I'm going to change it. It's going to get better. We'll bring them all in. All right. I always like to own a little bit of physical gold and silver. Angela and I have been doing that for years. We look at it as an insurance policy. Desert Gold Exchange, hey, this is a family-run company right here in Arizona. Justin and his family, they keep the overhead low. They pass the savings on to you. They deal exclusively in tangible gold and silver. Justin and his team at Desert Gold Exchange can discuss what's the best types to own, talking physical gold and silver. And I want you to put them to the test. Call them up. I think you're going to find their fees and commissions the lowest out there. In fact, they guarantee that. Call them today. No pressure consultation. You can also get a free investor's kit. Mention the Jeff Oravits Show when you do that. Desert Gold Exchange at 888-852-4343. That's 888-852-4343, 888-852-4343. Back in a minute. We're going to talk alcohol. This is from The Sun out of Great Britain, which I hate going to more and more because there's so many pop-up warnings and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like you can tell that their internet is a little different than ours, and it's like the tracking is even more intense.
Yeah.
Just an observation. But percent who have had 6 or more drinks in one sitting in the past month. Angela,
one sitting?
Yeah. It's not like had 6 or more drinks like in a month or a week.
I was thinking like in a week,
it was like
but one sitting?
Yeah. Percent who have had 6 or more drinks in one sitting in the past month. Who do you think is number one? Have you had time to think?
Well, my
What country?
first thought was Europe somewhere because like France and Italy, they like their wine.
Europe's on this list. They are very well represented.
Yeah, like England, and Ireland, the beers, and then Germans with the beers and the vodkas and stuff. But
you're hitting all of them. You're hitting all of them.
The U.S.
No.
I can't. I don't know anyone who has 6. Well, I take that back. I do know people that.
Okay,
have
there's
6,
a list of 10 here, and sadly, the U.S. has not performed very well as far as 6 or more drinks. Underachieving once again. The U.S. percent who have had 6 or more drinks in one sitting in the past month. U.S. is 23%, so a quarter of the population. So we're in the top 10, but not the biggest. Iceland is 24% because what the hell else are you going to do? Except you're going to sit in the hot spring with your 6 drinks. See pictures. There's just beer cans everywhere.
I don't think I've ever had 6 drinks.
Ireland at 25%, Australia at 26%, Belgium 28%, Germany 30%, so nearly a third, Luxembourg. It's like 18 people there, all 18, 35%. United Kingdom, 35%. Romania, 36%. Denmark, they're the tops. They took the cake, 37%. Have had 6 or more drinks in one sitting in the past month. I just found it interesting.
You need to go to Denmark.
We need to go to Denmark.
We need to learn something. We're not doing something right.
I thought it was going to be Germany based on when we've traveled. The Germans. I mean, we went
they like to drink.
My grandma, one of our family members, distant family members in Germany. Yeah, we were there, and it was like 10 in the morning. They were getting a Jägermeister out.
Shots at like 10, 11 o'clock
and then on a Greek cruise around some islands once, there was a German group there, and they just had the whole table almost collapsed from beer cans. Yeah. But good job, Denmark, I guess. All right.
Well, that's close to Germany.
Thanks, everybody. Back tomorrow, of course. Look forward to that. And remember to subscribe to the podcast. Appreciate everybody who's done that. Take care. See you soon.